I have small question and it's very
Hmm.
generic. So
Hmm.
let's say Sec 3 more on the verification side and Sec 4 is on validation. So
Hmm.
the most of the people will confuse on verification and validation.
Hmm.
So what would be the main difference when we say verification and validation? Yeah.
Okay. So when we say verification and validation, we have to be careful that there could be different kind of a meaning based on what standard are you referring to. Because if at all we are talking about ISTQB, which is typical standard normally referred and used by the testers, the definition of verification and validation could be different. And if at all I'm referring to particular standard like ASPICE or ISO 26262 or ISO 21434, they may mean these two terms in a different way. What is verification and what is validation? Normally, what is a popular definition between verification and validation? Maybe it is coming from ISTQB. I'm not really sure where is it coming from. Verification is more about uh, you know verifying your product against the set of requirements on the left side what you describe to see whether your product behaves as described in the left side, be it in terms of requirements, architecture, whatever. You have some set of specification described and you are verifying against it to verify its behavior. However, validation is more of a verification activity in the user environment. Yeah, which means a product is tested at the system level, against the requirements and architecture. Of course, it can be seen as a verification, but if that product is put inside a car and the car is driven, because that is the intended environment, right? At the end of the day, the product has to go into the car and car will be running on the road. And when it is tested there in the real customer environment or the user environment, that is normally called as validation. Yeah, this is a popular definition we have heard of. Okay. Again, I'm not making any remark where is it coming from. That's what everybody are aware. Now comes the interesting point here in this particular standard. Of course, we have a sec 3 which is more about the verification, and sec 4 is about the validation. Of course, we have to talk about the sec 4 in another session, but as far as I understood what is the purpose here is, you have a hierarchical levels which we are very familiar with. You have a vehicle and the item level, and we get the cybersecurity goals against it. Then you come to the lower level where you come to the system, software, hardware, whatever, and against each you will have the cybersecurity specification. In my opinion, and also as I understood from these processes how it's been written, the Sec 3 covers until the specification level only. Be it system cybersecurity specification, be it software or a hardware cybersecurity specification, all the testing and verification activities of these specifications are covered in the Sec 3. However, Sec 4 talks more about the verification of the cybersecurity goals. If you see the purpose and if you see the base practices of Sec 4, it mostly talks about the verification of the cybersecurity goals. So, in my opinion, up to Sec 3 is something relevant for the system suppliers or the tier ones, and Sec 4, since cybersecurity is or in other ways, cybersecurity goals are more or less the responsibility of the item provider or the vehicle provider, which in majority of the cases OEMs. So Sec 4 is relevant for the OEM. Yeah. So this is how I understand it. Yeah. There could also be some cases where some tier ones could be developing a item. Again, we have to once again go back and try to understand the definition of an item. So item is a system or a combination of system which fulfills certain functionality in the vehicle. Yeah, if my system doesn't really fulfill certain functionality directly in the vehicle, it cannot be called as an item. So in with that definition in mind, we can clearly say that majority of the tier ones are not at all developing item, even though they think they are developing a system which has to be combined with many other system coming from many other vendor at the vehicle manufacturer level. Then an item has to be formed which fulfills certain functionality. So this is where My opinion is for tier 1, SIG 3 is relevant. Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, you can go as low as you want. And SIG 4 is more of a relevance with the OEM. It has a relevance with the OEM because you have to verify the fulfillment of the cybersecurity goals.